What's going on, guys? This is Day Trader Insight. Hope you all made some money today. I certainly did. Like I was telling you all, I went into today and sold Tesla in the 340s, and I sold Palantir in the 60s, right? Tesla may keep running into the 390s and then the 430s, 440, and Palantir, God knows when that's going to stop, but it'll keep going without me because fundamentally, I think it's a bit overdone. Speaking of not liking fundamentals, one of the main stocks I bought today, I hate the fundamentals. I'll never like the fundamentals. The company will never go anywhere in my opinion, but it had a great chart setup. So I played it and got a really nice return, something like I believe 15 and 20%, and I only bought it at market open, right? So it was RUM, Rumble, and that ended up being a pretty decent play for the day. I did end up buying two other positions, but first, so I sold the Tesla, I sold the Palantir. Towards the end of the day, I sold some Bitcoin because Bitcoin was nearing a resistance, and there's a pretty hard resistance at like 90.5. There was a little bit of resistance at like 87 something, so I went ahead and just trimmed the position a bit, and then I made an investment. One investment's actually kind of for next year, right? And so I'm not really going to talk about that one yet. The business has been beaten down, the earnings have been beaten down, the price has been beaten down, but I really think that the tariffs are going to help the business, and I think I'll have quite a bit of time to build up the position before next year when I think the earnings will turn around, right? But I'll share more about that one in its own video. Beyond that, you also use some money and went in on genomics. Fundamentally, I hate that too. I hate the sector. I don't like all the companies, but there was an opportunity on the charts, and it's not a really great opportunity right now. And so I'd caution. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't have bought as much. I would have done a little bit more of a starter position, but I do think the opportunity still stands on the chart, where I'm looking at probably a good 15% return, or at least 10% return from where I bought at in a relatively short period of time, less than 2 months, right? So I do think that will pan out. Again, I'm not crazy. I don't like that sector. I'm never in that stuff, but the opportunity was there. And again, it's not a great setup on the chart, but it did close slightly bullish. And I do think it'll consolidate for a little bit and then make another leg up, right? So that's kind of what I'm banking on, and that's also, because of that consolidation that I'm expecting before shooting up, I think that consolidation will come with a little bit of dip and then go up. So I kind of wish I bought a little bit less and then finished the position later. Whatever, I messed up on that one, but that's okay. I still think it'll go my way in the long run. One other thing, I said with the Sofi, literally in my video title yesterday, 14.4 is what I was looking for on Sofi, and I lowered it to 14.3 in another video from this morning. But the reason for that was safety net, right? I didn't want to not get to sell, right? But 14.4 was what I was looking for, and I actually did sell quite a bit of my position, my core holding. So I sold, and that's nowhere near the whole holding, right? But when you get out up there, and the price falls all the way back down to 1390, 1395. I think the low was 1388. That's pretty decent. That's 3-4% that got in the bag, right? So I'm ready to jump back in on those shares at any time, and I do think there'll be consolidation. And that Sofi, if it does consolidate, and that was the high, which I'm not convinced it was, right? But if that was the high, we'll see consolidation down to the 13, high 12s, right? Probably 13 or so. And that's where I'd be building out the full position again, maybe even getting some bonus shares. I think fair value on Sofi, where honestly I'd feel very comfortable getting into the stock for the first time, is now about 13 bucks, right? I think that's very fair value. And that being said, I do think it could continue to run. So I did actually hedge getting out of the stock with some very short-term calls, right? And those, depending on how quickly I'm able to get back in, what price I'm able to get back in, I'll just throw those away and not worry about that. I'd rather just not miss out on the opportunity to make more gains but at the same time, I want to lock in those gains. So if I think the stock could potentially go another 60 cents or so, right? So 15.70 or so, that's a very hard resistance, and 15 is also a very hard psychological resistance, right? So what's my delta there? So I think 60 cents is what I have to gain going to the upside, and from 14.44, I think it goes all the way back to 13, right? So on the downside is $1.44. So 60 cents versus $1.44. What do you think I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to sell the shares, and then I'm going to buy some really cheap short-term calls that expire Friday, right? And if it keeps the momentum and somehow shoots through this hard resistance overnight, good. My calls will pay off. If not, those things could expire worthless. The stock falls to 13. I didn't lose $1.40. I only lost like 40 cents, right? So that's kind of how I'm playing that. And if the stock does consolidate pretty quickly, since this is a long-term hold for me and it was part of my core position, I'll probably just scrap those calls and only lose 20% on them or something. It's minuscule, right? That's almost nothing. And then get back into the stock, maybe even at like 13.70, 13.60, something like that. I don't have to wait all the way to 13 since it's a core position for me. Basically, with that core position, I'll trade it here and there, and I'll be happy making 2 to 5% on it. And I'm not shooting for nailing the top, getting in at the very bottom when it's that core position, right? I'll just flip that thing here and there when I'm not working, so that I know I can get in and out, right? Anyway, good luck to you all. Hope you made some money today, and talk to you soon.